Fear is stealing your life. Think about it. You've had dreams, ideas, and goals sitting inside you for years, and the only reason you haven't moved on them isn't because you're not capable. It's because fear and anxiety keep talking you out of it. How many times have you known exactly what you needed to do, but your chest tightened, your stomach dropped, and your mind screamed, "Don't do it, it's too risky"? Fear disguises itself as protection, but in reality, it's the single biggest thief of opportunity. And if you don't learn how to kill it, it will quietly run your life into the ground. Here's the truth: fear never goes away. It doesn't magically disappear when you become successful or confident. The people you admire, the ones who built the lives you want, they all felt fear too, but they refused to let it drive the car. The secret to killing fear isn't waiting for courage, it's action. Every single time you take action while afraid, you teach your brain that fear doesn't control you. That's how you stop it from running your life. I remember a woman who wanted to speak on stage, but was paralyzed by anxiety. For years, she avoided opportunities because the fear of judgment felt unbearable. One day, she decided to use the 5-second rule. She counted backward 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and walked up before her mind could talk her out of it. Her hands shook, her voice cracked, but she did it, and afterwards, the fear was still there, but it was smaller. That's the secret. Fear shrinks when you face it, and it grows when you avoid it. You don't beat anxiety by thinking, you beat it by moving. The longer you sit in your head, the louder fear gets. But the moment you take that small step, send the email, make the call, walk into the room, fear loses its grip. Every action becomes evidence that you're stronger than your doubts. So stop waiting for the perfect moment to feel fearless, because it doesn't exist. Fear isn't a stop sign. It's a green light. It means you're moving toward growth, and the secret to killing it is simple: act before fear talks you out of it. Because the life you want will never belong to fear. It will only belong to you if you take it back. Fear disguises itself as protection, but is the biggest thief of opportunity. And the reason it's so dangerous is because it convinces you that it's keeping you safe when in reality it's keeping you stuck. Fear shows up as hesitation, as overthinking, as the endless voice in your head that whispers, what if you fail? What if they laugh? What if this doesn't work out? It pretends to be your friend, your shield against pain or embarrassment, but what it's really doing is stealing moments you'll never get back, chances you'll never see again, and dreams you'll never realize if you let it win. Think about the last time you wanted to take a leap. Maybe it was asking for a promotion, speaking up in a meeting, or telling someone how you really felt. You had the thought, the spark of courage, and then fear slid in with all its excuses. It's not the right time. You're not ready. They'll probably say no, and just like that, the opportunity slipped away. Did fear actually protect you from anything, or did it just rob you of growth, connection, and progress? I once heard a story about a young musician who had the chance to perform in front of a major record producer. She had practiced for years, poured her soul into her music, but when the night came, fear paralyzed her. She walked away, telling herself she wasn't ready. The opportunity never came back. Years later, she still carried the regret. Not because she failed, but because she never even tried. That's how fear steals. It doesn't destroy your dreams in one dramatic moment. It erodes them by convincing you not to act. Contrast that with someone like Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx. She had every reason to let fear stop her. She had no background in business, no investors, and a product idea that sounded ridiculous to most people. Fear told her this won't work. But instead of listening, she pushed forward, made the calls, faced rejection after rejection, and built a billion-dollar brand. The difference between her and the musician wasn't talent, it was how they responded when fear pretended to protect them. So ask yourself, how many times has fear robbed you of opportunities by wearing the mask of protection? How many times have you convinced yourself you were being cautious when really you were just scared? And what has that caution cost you? 5 years of staying in the wrong job, a relationship that never happened, a business you never started? The way forward is simple, but not easy. The next time fear whispers, don't do it, it's not safe, challenge it. Ask, is this fear protecting me from real danger? Or is it just stealing an opportunity I may never get again? Because fear might feel like safety in the moment, but in the long run, it is the single greatest threat to the life you want. And if you're not careful, it won't just protect you from failure, it will protect you from success. Fear never goes away. even for successful people, but it doesn't have to control you. That's the truth most people never realize. They believe that once they reach a certain level of confidence, money, or status, the fear will vanish. They imagine a future where they wake up fearless, where anxiety no longer exists, and where courage comes naturally. But the reality is, fear doesn't leave you, it simply changes shape as you grow. The difference between those who succeed and those who stay stuck isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to move forward with it. Take public speaking, for example. Surveys show it's one of the greatest fears people have. Yet some of the most celebrated speakers in the world still feel their hearts race and palms sweat before walking on stage. The late Maya Angelou once admitted that, before every performance, she was terrified someone would finally discover she wasn't as talented as people thought. That's Maya Angelou, world-renowned poet, author, and speaker, still wrestling with fear even after decades of success. Did fear stop her? She learned to carry it with her and perform anyway. Or look at athletes. Serena Williams, even after winning dozens of titles, has spoken about nerves before major matches. Does she wait for the anxiety to vanish before stepping onto the court? Of course not. She understands that fear is a signal of importance, not a stop sign. The fear is proof that what she's about to do matters, and so she plays with it instead of against it. This is where most people get trapped. They keep waiting for the day they'll feel completely ready and fearless, not realizing that day will never come. And because they wait, opportunities pass them by. Isn't it true that the things you're most afraid of are usually the things that could change your life the most? And isn't it also true that the people you admire didn't wait for fear to vanish? They acted in spite of it. So what does that mean for you? It means you must stop treating fear as an enemy to be defeated and start treating it as a companion on the journey. You don't need to eliminate fear. You just need to stop letting it make your decisions. The next time fear shows up before an interview, a pitch, or a difficult conversation, remind yourself that successful people feel the exact same thing. The only difference is that they've trained themselves to move anyway. Fear never disappears, but your relationship with it can change. When you stop waiting for fear to leave and instead start moving alongside it, you discover the freedom to act without needing perfect confidence. That is the secret the world's most successful people already know. Fear is permanent, but control is optional. And you hold that choice every single time you decide to act. The secret to killing fear is taking action despite it, because fear feeds on hesitation. The longer you sit, think, and analyze, the stronger it grows. Fear thrives in stillness, in the endless loop of what-ifs running through your mind. But the moment you move, the moment you take even the smallest step forward, fear begins to lose its grip. Action is the antidote, and every time you choose it, you weaken fear's control over your life. I remember hearing about a young man who wanted to launch a podcast, but spent months paralyzed by anxiety. He researched equipment, studied other shows, and made endless lists of ideas, yet he never pressed record. His fear of judgment kept him trapped in preparation mode. One day, fed up with himself, he grabbed his phone, hit record, and published a raw, unpolished episode. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. And the fear that had seemed so overwhelming, it shrank the instant he acted. That's what happens. Fear loses its power when you stop thinking and start doing. Look at Thomas Edison. Do you think he felt fearless while failing over 1,000 times to create the light bulb? No. He probably faced frustration, doubt, and fear at every turn. But he kept moving, kept experimenting, kept taking action. If he had waited until the fear disappeared, the world might still be in darkness. His relentless action was what transformed fear into innovation. And what about you? How many times have you let fear stop you from making the call, applying for the job, starting the project, or even speaking up? Isn't it true that the fear always feels bigger before you act and smaller once you do? Think back to the last time you finally confronted something you were dreading. Wasn't the reality far less terrifying than the anticipation? Fear only has teeth when you stand still. The second you act, it starts to dissolve. Here's the actionable truth. Stop waiting for courage before you move. Courage is not the prerequisite, it's the byproduct of action. If you want to kill fear, start small. Count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and send the email, raise your hand in the meeting, step into the gym. Each time you act, you prove to yourself that fear is not fatal, it's just uncomfortable. And the more you act, the more you rewire your brain to understand that fear can't control you. Fear wants you trapped in your head. Action drags you back into your life, and every choice to move forward, no matter how small, is a direct strike against fear's hold on you. So the question is, are you going to keep letting fear grow in the silence of hesitation, or will you finally take the one step that will shrink it down to size, because the secret has been in your hands all along. Move first, and the fear will follow. Avoiding fear makes it grow, while facing it makes it shrink. And this is one of the most powerful truths about human behavior. The things you run from don't disappear just because you avoid them. In fact, every time you dodge fear, you teach your brain that the fear was justified, that it really was something too big to handle. Over time, that fear doesn't just stay the same, it multiplies until it feels impossible to face. But the opposite is also true. Every time you lean into fear, every time you confront it head on, you prove to yourself that it isn't as powerful as it seemed. And with every act of courage, the fear gets smaller. Think about a child learning to swim. On their first attempt, they're terrified of the water. They scream, cling to the edge, convinced they'll drown the moment they let go. If the parent pulls them out and avoids the experience, the child's fear of water will only grow stronger, maybe lasting into adulthood. But if the child stays in, splashes around, takes small strokes, and learns through experience that they can float and breathe, the fear shrinks. The water didn't change, their response to it did. Fear works the same way in your life. I once met a man who had a crippling fear of flying. For years, he avoided planes altogether, even turning down jobs and vacations that required travel. The more he avoided it, the bigger the fear grew until it controlled his entire life. Finally, with the help of a coach, he forced himself onto a short flight. His heart pounded, his hands shook, but he made it. And on the other side of that flight, he realized the fear had been an illusion inflated by avoidance. The second time was easier, and by the fifth flight, what once seemed impossible had become normal. Facing it shrank it. This is why so many people stay stuck. They believe avoiding fear keeps them safe, when in reality it only strengthens the grip fear has on their lives. Haven't you done this too? Avoided the difficult conversation, skipped the presentation, delayed the project? And didn't the fear only feel heavier each time you pushed it away? Avoidance is fertilizer for fear. But action, stepping into the moment, cuts it down to size. So what can you do right now? Start by identifying one fear you've been avoiding. Maybe it's sending the application, making the call, or putting yourself out there publicly. Instead of giving fear more power by waiting, decide to face it in the smallest way possible. Take one step, even if your voice shakes or your heart races. That step won't kill the fear instantly, but it will weaken it. And the more you repeat the process, the smaller that fear becomes, until one day it's no longer in control of you. Fear is like a shadow. Run from it and it grows taller, but face it and it shrinks. So ask yourself, are you going to keep feeding your fears with avoidance? Or are you finally ready to face them and take your power back? Fear is not a stop sign, but a green light signaling growth. And the moment you understand this, everything about how you approach your life changes. Most people see fear as the warning to turn back, as proof that they're not ready or not capable. But in reality, fear shows up precisely when you're about to stretch beyond your comfort zone, and that's why it should be read as a signal to move forward. Fear doesn't mean stop. It means you're on the edge of becoming someone new. Think about the first time you rode a bike. You were nervous, maybe even terrified of falling. Your hands gripped the handlebars tight, your legs shook, and your stomach was in knots. If fear had been a stop sign, you would have quit right there. But you didn't. You kept pedaling. You fell, you got back up, and eventually you were flying down the street. That fear wasn't a message to stop. It was a message that you were about to grow, and once you pushed through, riding became second nature. Consider actors stepping onto a stage. Even seasoned performers like Adele and Hugh Jackman have admitted to feeling stage fright before every performance. If they had treated fear as a stop sign, they would never walk on stage. But instead, they see it as energy, as proof that what they're about to do matters. The fear doesn't paralyze them, it propels them into some of their greatest performances. Isn't that exactly how life works? The moments that scare you most are often the ones that have the power to transform you. The problem is that many people misinterpret the signal. They think, I'm scared, so this must be dangerous. But most of the time, the fear isn't about danger, it's about growth. It's not fear of dying on stage, it's fear of being judged. It's not fear of actual failure, it's fear of looking foolish. And when you realize that fear is just your body's way of saying, this matters, you can choose to move forward instead of retreating. So how do you start seeing fear as a green light? Begin by reframing it. The next time you feel fear, ask yourself, is this fear protecting me from harm, or is it pointing me toward growth? 90% of the time, you'll find it's the latter. Then instead of backing away, lean into it. Speak up in the meeting, take the leap, step onto the stage, launch the project. Each time you push through, you're not just growing, you're teaching yourself to associate fear with progress, not paralysis. Fear is never going away, but that's not the goal. The goal is to change the way you see it. Because once you start treating fear as a green light, you stop running from it and start using it as fuel. So ask yourself, what fear is standing in front of you right now? And what if instead of turning back, you finally recognized it for what it is, a signal that you're about to level up? At the end of the day, fear is not your enemy, it's your compass. Every fear you've ever felt was a sign that you were standing at the doorway of change. And what you chose to do in that moment determined everything. You can let fear shrink your world, keep you small, and rob you of opportunities. Or you can flip the script and see it for what it really is, proof that you're alive, proof that you care, proof that you're stepping into something that matters. The truth is, no one escapes fear. The difference between those who stay stuck and those who rise is simple. The ones who rise decide to move forward in spite